Everyone agrees that the supply chain contract has changed. And I'm not referring to the long legal contract, but to the implied contract. What exactly do I mean when I say implied contract? Well, when two companies or two individuals do business, there are a lot of unspoken assumptions. I call that an implied contract. And while implied means unspoken, sometimes it's good to be explicit. The old implied contract was very simple. Manufacturers produce products, preferably of good quality. Retailers sell the products at competitive prices and conveniently, and consumers buy. But gradually, the expectations and thereby the implied contract changed. The new agreement can look something like, we are all in a crisis together. We need to be able to trust each other and treat each other decently. Trust has become a key aspect. Consumers will not do business with anybody breaking the trust or doing wrong by their constituents. Consumers, in other words, do not only want great sausage from the sausage factory. No, they also want to know that the sausage was produced in a responsible manner. Oh, you may say, I do not supply directly to consumers. But in the end, all products end up being bought by individuals, whether in a consumer setting or in an industrial setting. These decision makers have firm values that impact their purchasing decisions. The social contract and the requirements extend to all decision makers. But what exactly are consumers concerned about? Well, let's start with how organizations treat their staff. 85% of US consumers say that they expect companies to keep their employees safe. In other words, consumers simply do not want to buy products that are produced under unsafe conditions. Of course, for years we have been expecting everyone to avoid abuse of child labor and indentured labor in the supply chain. Regrettably and totally unbelievably, that is still not a given, especially overseas. Yet certainly personnel matters have been on the agenda for a while. But what changed during the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement is that consumers are firmer and more adamant in their expectations around how companies treat their personnel. In other words, the stakes have gone up. During the Me Too movement, we saw companies getting chastised for lack of diversity and for maltreating women, but today we are seeing consumers actively addressing these issues as an important part of their purchasing decisions. Sustainability is the other area that everyone should be focused on for future success. It's nothing new, but awareness and commitment have changed. If you do not have a sustainability program that achieves measurable results, you just may be left behind. Organizations must address a variety of different areas. At Alon, we use tools to ensure we are constantly making progress in carbon footprint, resource reduction, end-to-end supply chain impact, embracing a circular economy, and other important areas. We recently added external audits to the mix through ISO 14000 in recognition of the importance of this area. Of course, all these expectations extend to suppliers and sometimes even to suppliers. They are part of your supply chain after all. However, during the pandemic, it's become even harder to have proper governance and to monitor suppliers. How do you keep suppliers on track if you cannot travel and visit them and inspect their facilities? My first piece of advice is to build a collaborative culture with suppliers. Identify suppliers that are trustworthy in the first place. And I'm not encouraging that you simply trust the suppliers and never audit or inspect them. However, by auditing and inspecting, you can never catch all the possible bad deeds that a circumspect supplier can think up. Today, more than ever, that alignment around values is important. We all rely more on metrics and reporting. So set up reporting such that you get information, not just about delivery schedules, tempting as it is, but also about sustainability improvements, personnel matters, and other areas of corporate social responsibility. Do carefully consider which metrics will be of use to you. Few companies consider that consumers may also judge them on who their customers are, not just their suppliers. However, your product actually may be tainted by association if resold through the wrong channels or if the perceived spokesperson is not aligned with customer expectations. In the end, this is all about values alignment in the supply chain, all the way from the raw material to the hands of the consumer. It's been a stepchild for many years. Now is the time to give this area the attention it deserves. Anything else can taint your brand beyond repair.